Hello, 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 and welcome. I really want to say thank you for being here. I know that your time, especially right now, is incredibly precious, and I really want to do my best to honor that and to make sure that you get the most bang for your buck as far as time goes. And I also understand, having been there, that sometimes these recordings can feel like just another thing that you have to do. And so I don't want that to be the case. And we are going to make this short, sweet, and to the point. And I really want to pack a lot of value in here. So, again, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me and learn something. And I really hope that this is valuable. I wanted to cover 4 particular things today. And at the end, you will also be getting in your email inbox a worksheet to kind of help you through this further if you want to do it. I feel like it would be helpful if you did. Um, but again, I know that anything that requires me to sit down, think, and write sometimes can just feel like yet another thing to do. And that's not what I want for you. So I wanted to cover a couple of things because for me, before I really got in the habit, which I'm going to talk about snowballing as it relates to to-do lists, to-do lists and task lists and things like that. We're going to talk about the snowballing effect and how you can make that happen for yourself and how to do it. But I think that really for me, one of the key things that I come up against on a regular basis is um, this idea of there is so much going on in my head, and there is so much that I know that I have to do, and there's so much that I feel like I should be doing, that the idea of starting is overwhelming. The idea of starting is exhausting. If you see me looking down, I have notes if you're watching this, so just bear with me. But the idea of beginning is just genuinely exhausting, and you would much rather just take a nap. Now, there are times where you genuinely need to take a nap, and I firmly believe in naps. But if you are taking a nap to avoid what you need to be doing or what you should be doing, that's when we have a problem, right? So I want to kind of address that a little bit. How can we create small wins in order to snowball them into bigger wins? And what does that even mean? So there's this book by Brian Tracy, and it's called Eat the Frog. It's a really short book. It's a great book. And for people who are not in a position that you and I have been in, it's a great concept. And quite frankly, there does come a time where that kind of information and that kind of concept is really valuable. So what does eat the frog mean? It means that you do the task that you are dreading the most first before you do anything else in that day. And I believe that that's a really good concept. It's a really good idea. But if that task feels so insurmountable to you, you're just going to delay doing it and you're going to get nothing done. So I would rather personally, if you can do the frog first, if you can eat the frog first, great. Go ahead and do that. But if you start to move toward that process and you hit a brick wall, I want you to stop. And I want you to take a minute and a deep, deep breath and go, okay, we have a couple different ways to skin this particular cat. You can try to make it a game. That works really well sometimes. Yesterday in particular, and I had had this particular thing item on my to-do list for over a week. And it just felt really insurmountable because it required me to listen to audio on my phone. It required me to listen to audio on my computer. It required me to dig around because sometimes my phone decides it doesn't want to record and I record things on my computer and vice versa. And the process of putting everything in one folder right after I recorded had not really occurred to me. It has now, but at the time it hadn't. So now I have a process for that. Now I have something that I'm going to do. But before that, all of this stuff could have been anywhere on my computer. It could have been anywhere on my phone. And if you do a lot of recordings, things tend to get lost. And you don't remember exactly what day you recorded something. And that's what I was running up against. So this idea of finding all the things that hadn't been published yet just felt insane to me, and it felt too crazy. And so what I did was I just decided to make it a game. How fast can I get this done and do it well? And it was kind of a challenge to me, in fact, to get this done and get it done really, really quickly. And I found that even though we are adults and even though have big kid brains, sometimes we really need to make something fun that isn't fun. How fast can I clean the tub? How fast can I get these dishes out of the dishwasher? And maybe I time myself and I try to beat the time from the day before. There are so many different ways to make things like this seem less crazy. And if you know anything about children, this works so well at getting them to clean up their toys. It's a game. How fast can you clean up the toys? I bet you can't do blah, 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 blah. Or, something like, I bet you can't pick up 5 toys in less than a minute and put them away. Things like that. So if you can kind of create a game for yourself, your life, for every big task that you have to do, your life becomes a little bit easier and a lot more fun. If you can just eat the frog and get it done, everything else could, throughout the rest of the day, be a lot easier. However, again, for some people, that doesn't work. That idea doesn't really fly. And so that's where we had to figure out a different method. I know for me personally, the sheer idea of asking for help, I have a really hard time with this. But the sheer idea of asking someone for help has in the past made me feel like a failure. And I want to tell you that you're not a failure for needing help. You are not a failure. You have a lot going on in your life. You have a lot to do. And especially right now, if you have more than one child and you're educating your children on top of keeping a house and maybe possibly working. And this concept of women are just supposed to do it all without asking for help, this is a new thing. This is a new thing. I want you to think back to colonial days. Women got together and they made food for each other's houses. There were groups of women who got together and made clothes. And then everybody passed them around because some people were better at baking and some people were better at clothing making. And this is they would barter systems, they would trade. Like, it was not common, and all of the women would get together to do these things together. Like, it wasn't one person making all of the bread for all of the village. It was all of the women in the house coming together to make the meals. It was a whole group of people um, that worked in the castle to make all of these things happen, right? It was never just one person doing it all. So I want you to get this idea that the TVs have perpetuated, and media and social media has all told us that we have to do everything, and that idea is just crap. Stop putting that much pressure on yourself. And we have never and those women weren't working outside the house or trying to have a job or trying to write a blog that was making money or creating YouTube videos that were making money. They didn't have work. So I want you to really understand that if you are doing all of these things, it literally, that concept of it takes a village literally is accurate. Nobody was doing everything themselves. Nobody was doing that. And it's really okay to ask for help. I want you to get this concept of I'm a failure if I ask for help completely out of your brain. Just dump it. And when that block and that little voice in your head comes to you and says you are a failure for needing to ask for help and you should be able to do all of this, I want you to literally put up a stop sign in your brain. I want you to imagine the crosswalk stop signs that they carry across the people at crosswalks, they carry those stop signs. I want you to slam one of those up into that voice. I want you to create a picture in your mind of who is saying that thing to you, and I want you to flap them in the face with that stop sign. No. And I want you to say stop. And quite frankly, this is going to feel silly the first couple times you do it, but you might have to say that out loud. I know that that's how I started. That was the best thing I ever did for myself, was to physically put my hand up while mentally imagining a stop sign being slammed into a person's face and saying, stop. And then you're going to say something to the effect of, we are not doing this today. We do not have time or the energy to do this today. We have things to do. And it's perfect. Nobody can do all of these things without killing themselves. Literally. I want you to really digest what I'm saying to you right now. If you continue to burn the candle at both ends, you are going to cause yourself to end up in the hospital. You're going to get sick. Okay. Let's take a deep breath for a second. And I really want you to think through that. I'm going to stop for just a moment and I want you to replay what I just said in your head. I do not want you to be sick. The people in your life don't want you to be sick. Those babies of yours need you to continue to take care of them. And in order to take care of them, that might require that you ask for some help. And it doesn't mean that you're weak, it doesn't mean that you're worthless, it doesn't mean that your work is poor. It simply means that you are trying to do all of the things. And sometimes that means asking for help outside of yourself, whether that be from your spouse, whether that mean as a family you hire someone, whether that mean that you make your children help you with the housework, because at some point your children are going to grow up to be big people and they are going to need to know how to keep a home. You're going to have to teach them how to scrub the toilet, and they're going to need to know how to do the dishes and how to mop floors. And the last thing that you want to do is to have them not know how to do these things. It's not good for them. Okay? And if you don't teach them now, when they have to do it, it's going to be even more overwhelming because they've never had to do it before. And now they're having to do a job and mop a floor and feed people, etc., etc. So you're setting them up to fail if you don't teach them how to do these things ahead of time. If you can reframe those thoughts into that kind of, you are doing them a service by teaching them how to keep a home, the entire it's a game changer, right? It's a total game changer. And at 5 and 6 and 7, there are some things that they can learn to do themselves, like cleaning tables, like putting their dishes away, throwing their food into the trash, etc. There's so many things that they can do, and making their own bed. It's okay to make them do a little bit of work. And it would take so much off of your plate. Okay? All right. So, asking for help, huge, huge piece. We've already talked about making it a game. And again, same thing when you do ask your kids for help, when you do pull them into the process, guess what? Make it a game. It will be so much easier and so much better, and they will actually be engaged and want to do it. And it teaches them ways to go through this whole process when they're older. Okay. We talked about Eat the Frog and how that can be a really good way to process things, and a really, really good way to get through your to-do list is to eat that frog, do the worst thing that you could possibly imagine first, and then go from there. Now, I will say that if you are like me and you have autoimmune diseases, I'm in the process of getting a lupus diagnosis. My mom has lupus, and my symptoms are like right there, which means I'm exhausted a lot and I'm sick a lot. So, what I would say to you is that doing something like mopping the floor first, you only have a normal person only has so many spoons. Let's talk about it from the factor of spoons. And if I hand you mopping the floor is probably going to take 3 of my spoons, right? A normal person might take 1 spoon, and that spoon's gone, and you don't get a replenishment of your spoons until the following day. And for me, it's 3 spoons to mop the floor. My back kills me after mopping, and I am exhausted and I have to sit down for at least an hour. If it's doing the dishes, that may be 1 spoon. Feeding 3 meals, 3 spoons. And let's say you only have 10 spoons for the day, you need to allocate those spoons. Spoons equals energy. You need to allocate those spoons really, really well, especially if you have an autoimmune disease. You have to think about what is this going to do to me? And that might mean that you only mop the living room and the kitchen today, because instead of taking up 3 spoons and mopping the whole house, you've decided that you're only going to do, it's only going to be 1 spoon or 2 because you're sweeping and then mopping. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Or you get some kind of tool. I guess Shark is coming out with it's like a little mini vacuum and mop, and it does both at the same time. And my whole head just exploded. I went, oh my. So find, what I mean by that little tangent is find tools that can help you do 2 things at once so that you're not having to do as much work. Find things that can make your life easier. You could get a Roomba and one of the little Roomba mop things. They're expensive, so you're going to make trade-offs, right? And if you can't afford that, you're going to have to figure out a different way to do it, right? And it might mean you hire somebody to come in and do an hour's worth of cleaning for the day, and that's $30 a week or $30 every 2 weeks, right? So finding ways, and that goes back into asking for help, right? All of this stuff is interconnected, as you can tell. Small wins that can snowball into bigger wins. This is huge, especially for me. If I can get up and get a good breakfast down, that's a small win that's going to lead me to having better energy, to doing more things. If I can pick up an area before we go to bed, or I can get a load of dishes in and I've cleaned up the kitchen in the evening time and I wake up to a clean kitchen, that is an enormous win, and it took me 15 to 20 minutes to do. Waking up to a dirty kitchen is the worst feeling in the world. I don't know why, it just sets the tone for the day. So that for me is something that I try really hard to make sure that I'm doing for myself and for my family. If I have a to-do list and there's something that I know is only going to take me 2 minutes, I might go ahead and do that first. And then I'm going to do the next thing that only takes like 5 minutes maybe. And by being able to mark these things off, the more I'm creating kind of a momentum. I'm creating a bit of a snowball effect because it's going to create all this momentum and this energy most of the time and allow me to continue to keep going because I've got the momentum of crossing all of the things off and I'm loving it and I want to keep achieving. Now, that is just my type A personality coming out and wanting to do more and more and more and more. But there are days where those 4 or 5 things are all I'm going to get done. So I have a process called 4 a day, and I will show you, and I'll link this in the comments. It's this guy right here. Now, I don't always use this. I use the concept in a digital format on my my task system that I use that translates to my phone. But this is where I started because I needed something that was physical and to physically write something down. And what this is these are my priorities for the day. I'm going to make sure, come hell or high water, that I get these 4 things done, right? I'm going to do whatever I can do to get 4 things done. And if I get these 4 things done, great. I'm off to a running start. If I decide to do more, fantastic. But I'm at least going to get these 4 things done, right? And they could be doing the dishes. It could be mopping the floors. It could be scrubbing the tub. It could be something with my business. It could be making this particular video. It could be anything that you need it to be. And if you are a mom and you are stressed and you are at your wit's end. It literally could be, I'm going to get my hair washed. And if you get that done, yes, rip it off, throw it away. And it's great. Because, again, back to those small wins. And quite frankly, your hair does need to be washed. And if you're anything like me, sometimes you have to wait because you got too busy. You have to wait until your hair is disgusting to wash it. So it needs to go on the list. It needs to go on that 4 list. Otherwise, I'm just getting headaches because my hair is so greasy. Or I'm starting to look like I'm gonna have dreads, and I'm at the beginning stages of getting dreads. Ew. If you love dreads and you have them, by all means, keep rocking that hairdo. I personally could not stand it because I have talked to enough people who have those about getting to that process. They look really cool once you got it, but getting there is, man, whew, I couldn't do it. All right. So my point is, figure out the best way for you. And really, genuinely, if you are at a point where you are so exhausted at the idea of beginning your list, here's what I want you to do. I have in the past suggested doing a brain dump and getting everything out of your head. But what can happen when you do a brain dump, it could be really great for you, or it could be really terrible and create a whole nother overwhelming situation because now you've just literally are looking at that crazy to-do list that's 3 pages long that was all stored in your head. So instead of doing that, if the idea of that makes you freak out, what I want you to do instead is I want you to stop. I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to write down on a piece of paper 4 things that need to be done in the next 3 days. Just 4 things. You're not going to write down a whole list. You're going to think of 4 things that you have to do. And until those 4 things are done, minus the day-to-day stuff like dishes and whatnot, don't put those on that 4 list. But until those things are done, you're not going to put 4 more on, right? You're going to do these 4 things, and then you're going to come back and you're going to add to it. Now, here's the next 4 things that I need to do. Here's the next 4 things. And again, it could be laundry, it could be washing your hair. Small wins. Small wins can add up to a big, big win. And one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself, or one of the greatest things rather that you can do for yourself, is creating momentum and getting something accomplished. When everything feels like too much to do, getting something accomplished can feel great as long as you keep going. You get up the next day and you go, okay, what are the 4 things that I have to do today? And if you get them done before noon, great. You could continue on if you feel like it. If not, you're all done for the day. Go spend some time with your kid. 4 things. Okay? That's what I want you to focus on today. So in the email, or in the email that you're going to get after this call, you've watched this, you're going to get this 4 slice. It is set to 4 post-it notes. I made them perfectly sized for post-it notes. And then I'm also going to give you this picture. It says, making my dreams come true 1 task at a time. And I think that that is something that has helped me out quite a bit over the years, is just having this concept of, I'm going to make my dreams come true 1 task at a time. It's helped me to focus. It's helped me to stay on task and things like that. Okay. But I want you, the worksheet is just going to have a couple of questions on it, and it's totally up to you whether you do them or not, and whether you come back to it or not. I don't want to add more to your plate. The thing I want you to concentrate on most is this 4 tasks, the 4 tasks that you are going to do. That's what I want you to focus on. What are the 4 things that you're going to do today that are going to get you on to the next thing? Okay. What are 4 things that you can do right now that'll get you where you want to go? And I would say that if you're running a business, your 4 thing list, other than if you need to wash your hair, then your 3 list, but your 4 thing list really needs to be about your business. What are 4 things that you're going to do for your business today? Okay. Or in this week. It could be 4 things for the week that you're going to get done, because maybe you have a crazy week going on. Maybe you're like me and you're educating your child. Right now, I don't know what he's doing. I keep hearing noises outside the room, and he's supposed to be sitting down doing his work and on a Zoom call. So we'll see what happened while I was in here doing this. It's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay to do nothing for a day because you've already been doing a bajillion things and you're exhausted. Prioritizing doing nothing can be really helpful for you. So make sure that sometimes one of the things that is on your list is maybe 15 minutes of solid rest. 15 minutes without any electronics, and you just go and take a walk or something like that. Make sure these things are on your to-do list, okay? Because they're really important. Unwinding is so important. And no guilt trips for yourself. We're going to cover that later on. I have a membership that I'm putting together, and I have a Facebook group that I am shaping and building right now. And I would love it if you would be a part of that. The Facebook group over time is going to start being like a quote for the day or a task for the day or something like that to get you further along than you were yesterday. And the resource library and the membership are going to be up and running as soon as I can. So I appreciate you spending time with me. If you're interested in that, the membership is going to include group coaching, life coaching type things, and business. We can address business as well because that's part of your life. So the cost for that for a single group call and access to the resource library is going to be $30 a month. And the groups and the group calls are going to be very focused. Everybody's going to get a chance on the hot seat. So expect that those calls are going to be at least 90 minutes and you're going to get your time in the sun. And it'll be a really, I want to promote a community aspect deeply in this because I really feel like a lot of times when we are in that place of everything is exhausting, everything is overwhelming, we feel very alone and like we are the only people who are suffering from this. And I want you to know that you are not alone. There are 1,000,001 other people who are also experiencing this at the same time. And I want you all to come together and help each other out and share experiences that will help everyone become who they're meant to be and to find success on your own terms. So I hope you guys have a great day. Again, I appreciate you spending time with me, and I will talk to you all later. See ya. Bye.